Sixth grade scholars, it's that time again. So let's go ahead and get started with math at Terry's house. Today we're going to be comparing positive rational numbers. Here are your solutions from your Desmos independent practice on yesterday. Please be careful when you're checking your work to ensure that you have your percent, your pictorial representation, your fraction, and your decimal all in the correct locations. Pause the video so that you can check your work. Awesome job. So today's objective is I will be able to compare 2% using pictorial representations and symbols. You might want to jot these notes down, so please have your notebook and your pencil available before we get started. Inequalities are mathematics expressions built from these following symbols. We have the greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. As you can see over here is the equal sign. That just means equal to, but it is not considered an inequality. So we're going to watch our instructional video and take notes as you need it.
Hey guys, it's Miss Jackson. I'm here to help with problems that deal with comparing percents of shaded parts in different figures. Now we want to write the shaded parts of each figure as a fraction. Remember, we have the number of shaded parts over the number of total parts. Then we'll convert our percent value, and to do that we want a fraction with a denominator of 100. Whatever we have in the numerator becomes our percent value. And we'll compare. Now we're comparing percent values, not the size or amount of shaded parts. And here's a hint, you may have to simplify a fraction before converting. So let's try this out. We have these two figures, and we want to write the shaded parts of the figure of each fraction. In this case, we have a total of 8 equal units. So we have a total of 8 on the bottom denominator, and the numerator we have 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded parts. In this figure we have a total, if we were to count all these squares, of 20 squares. And the shaded ones, if we count all the red ones, there's 10. Alright, so now we have our fractions we want to convert to a percent value. So we want a fraction that has 100 in the denominator. Well, in this fraction right here, let's do this one first. All we have to do is multiply 20 by 5 and we get 100. So we multiply the numerator by 5 and we get 50, so this is equal to 50%. Well, what about this one? Remember the hint, you may have to simplify a fraction before converting. Well, 8, we don't have a whole number to multiply to get 100. So what I'm going to do instead, let me go ahead and erase, is simplify this fraction. So 4/8 is the same as, if we divide the numerator and denominator, or factor out, however you want to look at it, 4, we get 1 over 2. So we have 4 is equal to 4 times 1, 8 is equal to 4 times 2. We cancel out the 4's, we get 1/2. And so now we have 1/2, and we're converting that to a fraction with 100 in the denominator. Well, 2 times 50 gives us 100, 1 times 50 gives us 50, so we're left with 50%. So now we can see that the same percentage is shaded in each of these figures. Here we have 10 shaded squares, and here we have 4 shaded units. So they're not the same amount of shaded units, but it's the same percentage of our figure. So I hope this helps with comparing percents of shaded parts in different figures, and good luck.
All right. So I hope you wrote your notes if you needed to, but that was easier enough for us to understand that those pictorial representations were equal. So let's go ahead to our next problem. So we're going to compare the percentages of the shaded portion by using the less than, the greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, or equal symbol. Hint, show all work. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at this 10 by 10 grid and determine what would be the fractional name for this grid. So we're going to look at shaded to the total. So what's the fraction for this one? Then we're going to compare this to this circle, shaded to the whole. So again, write the representation of this particular illustration as a fraction. Once you've done that, go ahead. You're going to pause your video and change each of those fractions to percents. So that may take you a few minutes, but we've done it all week. I think we're pretty much good with it now. So go ahead and do that. Pause your video and then come back with me and I'm going to show you what that looks like. All right. So here's the work. 10 by 10 grid was 75 shaded of 100 total. So that was one of the ones, we talk about some of those that you just need to know. That's one of them, 75 hundredths, because we're talking money, 75 cents, 75 hundredths as a decimal. And it's easy to change that to a percent. Just move your decimal point 2 places to the right and it's 75% or multiply by 100. Then we have the circle. So we have 6/8. So again, if we reduce it, we will get, or if we increase it, it's almost doing the same thing that she did before. We will have 3/4. Then we can multiply by 25 and we'll get 75%. But I went ahead and just did the fraction. I just went ahead and did the division. And as you can see, I have 75 hundredths, which again is 75 hundredths as a decimal and 75%. So that means this one is equal. Good job. So let's try one more. Again, we're going to look at the shaded portion. And first thing we want to do is what? You guessed it. Determine your fractions for each of your representations. And then go ahead and convert your fractions to percentages. Pause your video while you work that through. And once you're done, we're going to see if you're correct. Hope you're back with us. So again, here's this one. It took us a little bit longer to do it. So we have 8/10, just like it says, 8/10. So we can just simply write it as a decimal as 0.88 Then we have to change the tenths to a percent and we will get 80%. Remember, we have that filler 0. So in this little spot right here, if you can see my mouse right here, we move it 2 places to the right. We have the filler 0. So I want to add that and then don't forget to add my percent sign. But for my bar graph, I can see 5/6. So therefore I do my, division, do my long division, and I get that. You remember we talked about it yesterday? Remember what that means? Yes, that repeating bar, that special notation that means that number goes on forever and forever. So therefore, this as a decimal is 0.8333333333. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Forever and forever. So we have that repeating bar there, that repeating bar notation. So I need to change that then to an percent by just, again, moving the decimal 2 places to the right, but I can't forget to add my 0.33333. I don't want to have to keep writing, so I put the notation bar and the percent over it. So when I look at these two, 80%, 83.3 repeating bar percent, very good. So you should have had, it was less than, your circle graph is less than your bar graph. Perfect. Good job. We're just rolling through this. So this is what you're going to do independently today. You're not going to find this one linked in your plan. So you're just going to pause the video when you get a minute. You're going to pause the video and just write down each of your fractional portions for your pictorial representations. Once you have done that, then you can unpause it and you can get your work done as soon as we're finished with our video for today. But I do want you to pause it, write down what you think your fractional portions are for each one, and then we'll go over these solutions on our next session together. So, have we met our objective of the day? Are you able to compare 2% using pictorial representations and symbols? Got another check mark? I think we got it. So our next session will be on ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. But don't forget to spend your 10 to 15 minutes in your Dreambox account. Thank you, and I will see you at our next session.